I know that you had some struggles when you left the military, as do a lot of people. What motivated your struggles? What do you think was the root cause of it? And then what did you do to fix yourself along the way?
Dude, I have no clue, man. Like I said, I've never had nightmares or any issues like that, like PTSD type stuff, but I've had anger issues. Man, I'll blow my top at the stupidest thing. And like for a period of time when I was super lost, dude, if I flew on the plane, COVID was going on, people are like, you gotta pull your mask up. I just wanted to just blow a hole in their face. Like I'm like, leave me alone, you know? Like, I mean, constantly, I just had a chip on my shoulders. I was pissed off. I have no clue why. I think it's because the only thing I can think is that I just didn't have a purpose, I feel, in life. Like I was still contracting, training dudes and soft guys and stuff like that. But I don't know. I was just angry. And the only thing that helped me, I tried all these different things and nothing really helped me. But my wife prayed for me all these years. You know, she like I grew up Christian, she did too, but I was lost at the time. But she prayed for me and prayed for me, and then I just got this urge one day to like study the Bible. You know, I grew up going to church my whole life, and but I could care less about reading the Bible. I would read it and I'm like, this thing is stupid. I can't stand it. It's boring. Well, I got this urge to read it, and I read it and I read it, and it was still stupid and it was still boring for the longest time. And then eventually it snapped and I became addicted to reading it because things started falling into place. I started seeing that it was speaking of things that are going on this day in ways that you couldn't imagine. I was like, there's no way this is not divinely inspired. And as I studied it, you know, like the Bible says, you can be washed by the water of the word. And I believe that's what happened to me. It cleansed me. Like it cleanses you spiritually if you allow it to. You can't just read it and it cleanses you. You have to read it and want to obey it and follow it, and then it'll cleanse you. And so I think that's what happened to me. I'm so much better off now. I mean, I still have tons of chronic pain. I'm used to me going like this constantly with my neck. Um, but I'm way like I don't blow my top like I used to. My family life is way better than it's been ever. So that's what worked for me, you know. So I'll pause there.
Well, and I think that's a theme with many guests I've had is religion and how religion acts as a positive in their life. And I think it's good for the audience to hear someone like you who's been through a lot of things, just be open about religion and open about your Christian faith and open about reading the Bible. Um, to that point, on the operator syndrome thing, do you feel that like being that close to gunfire, breaching charges, explosions, things like that, do you think that has had any impact on your brain or anything like that?
Oh yeah, it has to have. You know, like I was an explosive breacher. I also taught our explosive breaching course for a little bit, so I've blown lots of charges, 5,000 free fall jumps, and yeah, some of those are hard openings as well. It definitely takes a toll on the brain, and I think a lot of times that toll doesn't really add up until later on. I think in the military, we're forced to be hard and push through it, you know, because of the dudes that are around us, right? We can't act weak in front of them. But then when you retire, it's like now I can slow down and now I can reassess these things. And then they start, I think, bothering you because you're like, I shouldn't be like this. I shouldn't be angry like this. I shouldn't be irritable like this. And I think the operator syndrome is definitely part of it. And the way it was explained to me is that like us being ramped up so many times, we're in the fight or flight mode and we don't fight, so we're ready to fight when it pegs out. But you do that so many times, thousands and thousands and thousands of times, you know, between the jumps, the breaching, anything that makes your adrenaline spike up to where your body gets to the point where it just stays pegged. And I think that's one of the issues. I actually just recently got some stellate ganglion block shots, which is supposed to help with that. I didn't notice any benefits from it, sad to say, but a lot of other guys have had benefits from that, like a reset from it.
When you were really struggling and like you said, you felt kind of lost, how does that impact the family unit? Like, what did you notice that made the family difficult at times that now that you're on the upward swing, you don't have those problems anymore?
Well, I was focused on making money hardcore work. I was making ridiculous money as a contractor, you know, teaching free fall stuff and surveillance stuff and whatever. But I was gone all the time. I was gone as much as I was when I was deployed overseas, but I was stateside, but I was out in Arizona and California. And then I would come home and I just knew that me and my wife were gonna fight, so I didn't want to be home. So I'd come home and then we would just fight right off the bat a lot of times. And it would be like, I don't know. I just wore a chip on my shoulders. Like I was like, what is she gonna say now? Is she gonna be mad because I spent $10 over here? Is she gonna be mad because I went to Hooters with the group? Like, because that used to happen. Like one of the graduation courses, they took us out to Hooters, and my wife hates Hooters. And I'm like, I can't help it. I'm not the boss. I had to go there. Like it was required of me, but we would get in fights over that. She's like, "Why are you going to Hooters looking at these girls?" And I'm like, "I'm not looking at these girls. I don't care." Like honestly, at that Hooters, nobody was looking at the girls. But the thing is, we would fight over that stuff, and it was always something. And so I would drink, and take prescription drugs and stuff like that to just tune me down for the longest time. And that made it worse because it's like pouring fuel on the fire. And then, I could kind of suppress it eventually. And then I just kaboom, just blow my top. And then I'm to the point, I've had a Glock to my head. And I'm like, if I'm the problem, then why don't I get out of here? Not that I wanted to kill myself, but I've had a Glock to my head snatching the slack out of the trigger before. I'm like, you think I won't do this in front of my wife and in front of my kid? So it's super destructive. And now I'm just trying to patch up all those things that I caused over the years.
Do you feel that anything could be done for guys while they're still in to kind of stop some of these problems before they even get started?
That's a hard one. I don't know. Except for, I mean, if we just force guys not to spend that long in a soft unit, you know what I mean? Like if you force guys, because I don't care if you're in Delta Force, or you're in a Ranger Battalion, you're in Special Forces, SEAL teams, whatever, MARSOC, Air Force. I don't want to leave them all out, any of them out, but your schedule is balls to the walls always. I mean, even when there's no war, I guarantee them dudes are training like crazy. They're traveling all over this world doing things. It's just busy. It's the stress is in the expectation is perfection. Like, I mean, you ask any dudes, I'm sure some Delta Force dudes have told you that the expectation is perfection. And when you don't achieve that, you're gone. And in certain cases, maybe you get to slide a little bit, but for the most part, that's the standard. And you're under that stress of being perfect all day, every day. And it takes a toll on you, especially when you spend, like I spent, I think, 18 years of my career in a soft type unit.
Was it hard for you to explain to your wife what, killing and seeing people get killed? Did she ever ask about that? And if so, did you find it difficult to have those conversations?
No, we never really talked about that much. I mean, I talked about like a lot of the cool guy stuff that we've done and like training and stuff like that, but she never really asked me about the killing stuff. I think they know now because they've seen all the podcasts that I've been on. I think a lot of my family knows now more because they've heard these situations that I've been in talked about on podcasts. And I may have told some of this to family, but not a whole lot. I mean, it's like to me, if they ask me, I'll tell. And I'm happy. I'm an open book. I'll share this with anybody, but it's weird. You don't want to it's like you're forcing it on people. It feels kind of weird. So I have told some people, but I think they mainly heard from podcasts.
Well, and that's a great segue because